I gotta say, my 50s have been awesome. Just the exploring and everything that we're doing in this lifestyle has just been exhilarating. What
Yeah.
we're learning. We're not we're definitely not put out to pasture. We might call it being put out to stud.
Yes.
So,
That's what you're
Yes.
looking for. Yeah.
and just it has been really fun. It's been exciting. It's been work, and we like doing the work, and yeah. So we're not too old. We're enjoying the hell out of it right now.
Thank you for saying it. Laura, how about you?
Yeah, as I get older and get more mature, one of the things I am paying attention to is how easily it is for people to fall into a fixed mindset, kind of, oh, this is, I've always been like this. And we were talking about this last night, that my mom was such a beautiful example for her generation of staying in a growth mindset her entire life. And I feel like that's the legacy she passed down to me. But you're not the only one that has reflected. I had somebody else recently say to me, "You just look like you're getting younger and younger."
Welcome to Playing with Fire, the podcast for people who are ready to custom build their love.
We're talking about non-monogamy, however you design it, as an individuation opportunity.
Want to leave the default and make your life spectacularly you? You're in the right place. Well, Ken, we have an awesome show today with two people who we have been sort of like brewing up an idea of talking to them for a while because
Yeah,
they
it's
have
great.
been
We always enjoy talking with them, so now we get to record it.
absolutely. So Bill and Laura are a couple who entered the year of opening really beautifully with curiosity and with caution, and they've taken a particular path that we've wanted to talk about because I don't think we hear very many stories about people who really do take a slow education centered path. We hear more of the stories, well, like my own, like let's just do whatever and see what happens. The jumping out of the airplane without having any idea of a parachute. I think we hear more of my kind of story because it's splashy, but it is not actually what everybody does. So I want to explore like what this pace was like for them and find out how it's going now. Here we are like 2 years later. I'm very curious. So Bill and Laura, welcome. Thank you so much for joining
Welcome.
us.
Thanks.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yep.
So let's just start off at the beginning. And either of you feel free to jump in with the starting point of this. What brought you to the threshold of opening a relationship? And how long had you been together at that point?
Yeah, we had been together 33 years, married 33 years, been together I guess 36.
Some
And
time. That's some
yeah,
time.
so a long time. And we were we had become empty nesters, and just wanted to, kind of feeling like we wanted to explore something different. Uh, and we, started listening to podcasts and things, and wondering what, it would be like for, you know, coming out of the norm, and moving into something more expansive that we kind of had to push ourselves around and didn't really know what that was. We started listening to podcasts and reading and doing, research, of how we could, do this expansiveness in kind of a, sex positivity type realm. And we came across, I think it was another podcast that you were on, that then we at the end you had your
My little
five
pitch for like,
yeah,
yeah,
your
those
little
five,
pitch.
like,
So
go answer the questions.
yep.
Go find out where you're at. Yeah.
So we did that, and connected with you, and started exploring this with really no vision of where we wanted to go.
Yeah,
and
with
and it Yeah.
With so many, I mean, so you were looking for something new, I hear, and you could have gone rock climbing. Could have been any number of things.
Right.
What tipped it over into non-monogamy?
Yeah. So, um, part of it was the empty nest situation. And so we started looking at, because we did feel like we had a really good, strong, solid relationship. And so I believe there is no upper end to happiness, and there's always more. And so, just my word, I do the one word process. My word for that year was experiment. So I
Hmm.
was just looking at like all the ways that we could experiment. I could experiment around bringing more passion back into our relationship. Like we had fallen into some really
Routine,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah,
just
we get in
like
those
Yeah.
ruts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
lazy habits. And
Right.
there was this newfound freedom when the house became ours and only ours. And so we really just kind of like the focus was on sensuality, sexuality, love, like just all that. And kind of the question was, we knew there was room for improvement. What was going to be the path that we were going to find? And we looked for a while, right, till we kind
Yeah.
of settled here.
So I love this, and it sounds all great. I'm curious though, as you started to think about that, were there mixed emotions? Was it all just like, yeah, let's go, it'll be fine? Or was there also fear? Was there guilt? Was there confusion? What was going on? Because it sounds like you were deconstructing from a lot of monogamy. Like that's a long time of practicing one way.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
feelings were there?
Yeah. Fear's a big, fear's a strong word, but a good word. It was almost, there was anxiety,
Hmm.
wow, we're going to do this. What is that going to look like? Well, I don't really know where this is going to go, but we're open to learning and figure out, what we like, what we don't, what, just see where we would end up. So yeah, I'm a sailor, and so like I like to plot a course and know my destination and all this, but yeah, we didn't really have a destination.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a
So
real surrender there. Laura,
yeah,
how about you? Were you feeling trepidation or?
Um, yeah, I mean, once we really started looking at the opening as a potential path, Bill was definitely leading the way, right? Um, I historically have been the one in the relationship to be like, let's do this, and he would follow. It was really the first time I feel like in our relationship where Bill was leading for a
Hmm.
while.
Yep.
And
That can feel
I,
really interesting all by itself.
Yeah.
it was, there
yeah,
was definitely
yeah.
trepidation, right? There was this part of me, right, without going into the details, right? There was this, like Bill had some wants, needs, desires that I wasn't sure I was capable of providing.
Mm.
And so this idea that I didn't have to do it all kind of space was both alluring and terrifying all at the same time.
Oh, I can't think of a better way to sum it up. So you initially said like, yeah, the exploration that you were doing was in the sex positive realm, but there's a lot of ways to stay in monogamy while still heading in that direction. But to allow yourself to really imagine into what if the needs in that sex positive realm aren't going to all be met by me? It does bring us to a precipice. Many of us, we feel that like, well, what I don't even know what I'll feel. Like we're good predictors of horror and fear and shame, and yet I can hear a lot of opportunity too for just like, wow, I don't even know what I don't know about that. And that sounds like something the two of you have actually practiced over your whole lives, is that standing at the edge of something and saying, well, we don't know, so let's explore. And is that something you sort of like joined hands and said, let's explore together? Or was there ever a time when, Bill, you were like, okay, like I'm feeling this and I'm leading right now because this is something I want more? Did it feel like there was an individual pull as well as a together thing, or was it always together for the two of you?
Sure, there was an individual pull. The the things I was interested in pursuing and kind of afraid of doing so. It you know enrolling in the year of opening kind of gave me the space to explore some of those areas, and with just learning the skills and tools and such in just had me leaning into that uncomfortableness, and but it was at the same time exciting. So it was the yin and yang of the whole thing. And
Yeah.
so
So you
And you
chose. Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
you describe learning the techniques and the tools and all of that. Were there things you had to unlearn along the way?
yeah yeah the a lifetime of social patterning of what was I always thought was the way to do things.
Mhm.
And we learned about the relationship escalator, and how you fall in love, you get married, you have kids, you buy a house, and you live happily ever after. And well, just stepping off that escalator and moving into areas that
Yeah.
we had no idea was available to us.
Yeah.
And
You're bringing up an interesting point. The escalator, it like fall in love, get married, have kids, build your career, and then live happily ever after is incredibly vague for what
It's
could be like
pretty vague.
40 years
Yeah.
of your life. Like,
yes,
that's a long time to just be in the, well, I don't know, y'all, but just do something. Other people plant a garden. The two of you decided, you know what? Let's go. Let's go. You know what? I hear that you didn't take the fuck around and find out path, but you did, for you, take a path that was still going to lead you to have to question and unlearn patterns, which also probably brought you to a spot where you had to actually set some stuff down or figure out, like, oh, do we actually even agree on this? Was there ever a time when you realized, like, oh, we're not in total alignment? This is going to take some time for us to figure out how it goes, especially in those early days of learning. Were you in lockstep, or did you find that all of a sudden your paths diverged and you were learning at different paces?
Yeah. Definitely not always in lockstep. And right, the other part about, before I go there, the unlearning was the enmeshment. Like, I didn't really even realize how enmeshed we were and how we were just making group decisions. And so that was a big component that we're still working on, right? It takes a while, I think, to untangle after
And then a life of practice.
being tangled for so long.
yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we finished, right? Our cohort ended in the month at the end of March.
Yeah, in
And
2024. So
in tw-
you had a whole year, and now you've had another whole year plus since then. But
yes.
yeah,
And we didn't open at all while we were in the classes, right? We
Yeah.
were just bringing all the information in. And then there was a moment in time where Bill just spontaneously meets somebody out in the wild, in
those
public.
meetings in the wild.
Yep.
Meetings in the wild. And all of a sudden it was like, oh shit, here we go. Am I allowed to say that? Sorry.
Absolutely,
You are.
all the words are welcome.
Oh shit, here we go. And right, if we were not necessarily in lockstep at that
Yeah.
point, right?
Yeah.
I was freaking out a little bit. He was both excited and trying to manage my freak out because we were still enmeshed in that situation a little bit. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it
Yeah,
was
moving from theoretical to this is embodied. This is
yep,
happening in my physical world. And there are going to be implications and outcomes that I can't predict from here. Because
Mhm.
there's something beautiful. And I want to get in and talk about what's beautiful about the slow path through like, let's build our foundations, let's slow things down, let's make sure that we've got that. And then there's always going to be that time when the rubber meets the road. And it's not uncommon for that to be a moment of differentiation of, oh, we can't be enmeshed right now because it would be so oppositional to having this experience. But it sounds like the two of you put really strong day-to-day practices of unenmeshing to work for a long time before you came to this moment of, oh, it's going to be real and this is going to be the thing. Is there anything that you did, Laura, that was specific for you about the unenmeshing? Is there anything you tried out that maybe not even related to the opening process in the way most people think about sex and love, but what did
yeah.
you do to
Yeah.
unenmesh?
I mean, it's as silly and as simple as being like, I don't want that for dinner. I'm going to eat something else, right? Like
Yes.
it was just where before I would just be like, oh, that's fine, right? Like I don't love it, I don't hate it, it's fine. Like I started really cuz right, like this idea of what brings me pleasure. And right,
Yeah.
so just like food's a perfect easy example of how I had been going along in a lot of ways just because it was easier.
Yeah.
But to then own, no, I don't want this or I want that, like that was one way.
Yeah. Bill,
Um,
what did you do? What's something you did to de-enmesh, unenmesh?
Um, I was probably a little slower to unmesh than Laura was, and because I was typically the follower of her,
Yeah.
and where she'd make plans, I'd go along, and so some of the unenmeshing things that I'm still working on, and like the uh, I'm going to a meetup by myself,
Yep.
and things like that, which is challenging, and
When you've
I
been practicing couplehood, right?
Mhm.
yeah,
Couplehood, it's we talk about couples privilege, but sometimes I think we miss the detail of, yeah, there's also just coupled comfort. Like,
Yep.
yes,
yes, there's the privilege and the privilege manifests as like, yeah, there's somebody to hold my hand as I walk through this door. There's somebody to receive my raised eyebrows across the room. There's someone there in that. So yeah, even doing something that is seemingly simple, like going to a meetup, but to do that with the explicit expectation that this is something I'm doing so that I can practice feeling my own edge, being in my own system. It isn't a small thing. I think it's actually
Yeah.
a much bigger thing than we give people credit for. And it's different depending on how you have led your life. But you said, like, if you've been following, and Laura, if you've been, oh, that's fining for a long time, there's a lot of mid in there. There's a lot of mediocrity, right? Like, where you're just like, yeah, I guess we're just going along. And it sounds like each of you then had to lean into what actually brings me joy, what actually brings me pleasure. And along the way, probably hit some like, ooh, oh, that does not bring me joy or pleasure.
And do
the
you
other
find that oh, go ahead, Laura.
The other big, like, unenmeshing moment we had was when I had my freak out moment, and Bill, like, his first response was an enmeshed response, which was to stop what he was doing so I would feel better. And we had a whole process around that where we were able to see like that I wasn't asked, I was really clear that I wasn't asking for that and I needed to be allowed because this was one of my fears that I was going to need to temper my feelings, my emotions so that they
Mm-hmm.
would be palatable for Bill, and the first experiment of not doing that failed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
But we
As
learned a
experiments often do.
lot.
Yeah, those are
Yeah.
very important experiments.
Yep.
Yeah.
It sounds like you learned a lot about what you actually needed was not just for Bill to move with that well practiced, like, so we're a couple, so we move as a unit, so the next thing I need to do is soothe you or stop what I'm doing or whatever it is, cancel the dates, change the plan, but instead for Bill to allow you to be in discomfort,
Yep.
to allow you to have your freak out and
Yep.
act and not fix it. But there's a phrase we often use, just stay in presence. Because also not just wall off, right? If we're going to practice differentiation, we need to still like be present to, oh, this is my beloved. They're having feelings. And I don't just mean physical presence. I mean, like, yeah, I acknowledge we're in this, we're
Yeah.
doing this, and it's hard. And sometimes our presence is actually going to be, and I'm going on this date anyways.
Yep.
I'm going on this date, and I trust you to have your freak out
Yep.
and hold yourself.
We had a really good like chance to do it differently just recently, where again I had another freak out. And first of all, the inner counsel tools were so helpful in that moment. Like, I was able to sit with all the different parts that were coming up. And so I basically had to remove myself from a situation. Bill came, checked on me. I was able to really clearly say, I don't want you to fix this for me. Like, I want to be able to move through this, not just have it stop and that be the solution. And so we did a lot better the second go round.
We sure did.
That's spectacular.
Yeah.
That's
That's great.
spectacular.
That's
So
a
I
big
hear
win.
you used a bunch of tools. You used the inner counsel tool yourself, Laura, which she's describing a version of parts work that we do in Year of Opening, and also that you were clear. You made an explicit request for,
Yep.
do not step in here. Don't steal my struggle.
Yep.
Because if you steal my struggle, we're just going to keep looping around, and this becomes our new pattern. And that means that you're out there. What I love about this is there's so much evidence that you're both putting yourselves out there. So there's something else. Can we just bring something into the room? We mentioned how long you've been together, but none of us sitting in this little circle, we are not super young. And there's a I've had a few conversations recently with people who seem to think that opening up is just for the young people, whatever that is, whatever their idea of young is. I'm curious how it feels for you. Does this feel like it's been rejuvenating? Does it feel like it has kept you in a vibrancy? Because I'm looking at the two of you, and you literally look younger to me than when we
Agreed.
met.
Yeah.
I like, how has it impacted your sense of like being in the world? Because there's something to how you age and how we like get put out to pasture after our children are raised. Like, that happily ever after is kind of it's kind of a one-way door. I don't love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta say, my 50s have been awesome. Just the exploring and everything that we're doing in this lifestyle has just been exhilarating. What we're learning. We're definitely not put out to pasture. We might call it being put out to stud.
Yes.
So,
That's what you're looking for. Yeah.
and just it has been really fun. It's been exciting. It's been work, and we like doing the work, and yeah. So we're not too old. We're enjoying the hell out of it right now.
Thank you for saying it. Laura, how about you?
Yeah. As I get older and get more mature, one of the things I am paying attention to is how easily it is for people to fall into a fixed mindset, kind of, oh, this is, I've always been like this. And we were talking about this last night, that my mom was such a beautiful example for her generation of staying in a growth mindset her entire life. And I feel like that's the legacy she passed down to me. But you're not the only one that has reflected. I had somebody else recently say to me, "You just feel like look like you're getting younger and younger." And I have a friend who knows what's going on behind the scenes. The person who was saying this doesn't, and she's like, "If he only knew."
If he only knew what the real secret is. You can't. It didn't come in a pill form, but it is very interesting. I'm so glad to hear this because I feel
Yeah.
like when I hear from people, I mean, the most recent time I heard this was somebody who was 45 who said, "Yeah, I think I'm too old for it." And I was like, "Oh, too old?
Oh,
No. Like you're no."
Yeah.
First, and I don't think there is a too old because we're talking about relating.
Yeah.
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 I want to be relating my whole life.
Yeah.
There,
And I want to
so
be changing and growing my whole life.
yeah, yeah. So tell me what was it like for you to spend that time going through the process slowly? Did either of you have to actually was that an explicit decision or agreement that you'd made to go through and take this slow, steady, educative path, or did you actually have to kind of rein things in? Does it feel like a sacrifice, or did it feel like it just happened naturally? What was going on there?
Yeah, I think it kind of happened naturally because we didn't really know what we wanted to do with this. And we went through the year of opening, and then when we kind of started, I had the idea of like experimenting. Let's do some things that are outside of our comfort zone, that are kind of lifestyle related, and I hit the ball into Laura's court and said, we kind of agreed that you were the slower moving part. And I said, you find the events, whatever you're comfortable with. And, we went to some, tried some clubs. We went to, an event, that was, exclusive to kind of to the lifestyle. That was
Yeah.
like a weekend thing. And, and, and just, kind of felt into what we liked, what we didn't like, and really we're growing from there. We're kind of doing our field research, so to speak, and
Yeah. So
it's
when you say you didn't open, let's just clarify because that means something different to everyone. So I think about, Ken's story starts really back when he's like 18 years old, and he was very clearly taking steps and doing things in ways that were off the beaten path, but he didn't have the language of being open.
Right.
Now, frequently, people talk about the moment of opening as when you first have sex outside of a dyad, or when you have your first threesome, or when you whatever. There's some kind of threshold. It sounds like there were actually a lot of thresholds for each of you, but there were some that felt gentler, and those were the going to events together and doing that, which for many people that would feel like, oh, we're stepping out. This is our opening because now we've gone to a sex club. We've seen other people doing things, even if you're not actually having erotic experiences with others.
But you have
For
these milestones these
yeah,
events. Yeah.
did it bolster your courage and confidence along the way to have these other thresholds before you got to the wild world of dating independently?
I don't know. I mean, there was some comfort in doing some things together in the beginning. I'm sitting here as you're asking the questions, thinking, was there a moment in time when I can be like, oh, that's when I became polyamorous, right? And I would say no. It was more, it was as soon as the concept came into my field, right? It was I didn't even know that this was I'd never heard of this. I was like, oh, that makes sense to me, right? I'm a people person. I feel like I love easily. It's easy for I'll love you and then you can break that and not, but it's love just kind of comes easy and naturally for me. I have a lot of really deep, meaningful, trustworthy relationships that aren't romantic,
Yeah.
right? So it made sense that I felt like I had been sold a lie in this space of forsaking all others.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once I realized that that original premise might have been faulty, it was just kind of a slow awareness that built over time.
That's really beautiful, Laura. The recognition that you needed language in order to understand that, in fact, you you had already been living a love that was multiple. Multiplicity was the norm, but there were edges to that
Yep.
because you had also been raised with the mono paradigm of,
Yep.
yep, and there are certain things that are reserved for one person. But when we dissolve that particular belief structure and say, well, that's just made up, like all things are made up. Now, what do you want?
Yeah.
Now, that actually brings us to you're each differentiating. You're differentiating and unenmeshing, which also brings us to your individuation journeys.
Hmm.
What have each of you been learning about yourselves as individuals? Like, what is different now? Who is Bill? Who are Laura? Like, who are these people now?
Yeah, that's I'm still exploring that, and I've been accused of being a serial hobbyist, and I get really into something and do it hard for a period of time, and then I get tired of it, and then move on to something else. And I feel like at this point my serial hobby is you know non-monogamy, and learning about all the things in that, and my leaning into my individuation. I think it's been somewhat harder for me than Laura, because I was always such the follower in our relationship, and but just the you know talking to uh, different people, connecting with different people, and just really kind of almost not. Hey, is it okay if I do blah blah blah? I'm going to do this thing,
Yeah.
and then just kind of, and we understand what that dynamic is
Yeah.
now, and it's been really liberating
It
for
sounds
me.
like the first time you do the I'm going to inform you about something I'm doing, and I have already taken into account like our life, our schedules, and all of that. I'm going to inform you. That is often a watershed moment of its own. Like,
Yeah.
oh, look at me acting as an individual inside this container of care. Because I also say I see between the two of you like so much care, so much kindness. You have also like you haven't been just out there burning down all the old structures and saying, "Okay, well whatever happens happens." What's a way that you have leaned in like and protected this structure? So, Bill, I hear
Mhm.
you saying like one of the ways you've individuated is to assert your own autonomy, to assert your own wants. Is there anything that you've practiced like along the way or anything you've done along the way that you're like, oh, actually, my individuated self says, no, I'm going to lean in and also choose Laura, choose to protect this? Because I think it's both. It's not, individuation isn't always, I'm going to do something away. Sometimes it's, I'm going to choose to do this with. Is there any evidence of that for you?
Yeah, there's a little bit of evidence of that. The can't think of a direct example at the moment, but it just leaning into the feeling comfortable in you know s- saying I'm going to do this, and going to this meetup. I'm you know you know doing whatever, and that has felt good, and to a point where I'm more comfortable doing that, now than versus checking in
Versus
and
the
saying, is
check-in.
this okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I might have an example of something you've done.
Okay.
So one of the things I was interested in experimenting with was shibari.
Mm.
And so we had taken a field trip to a club where that was going to be present. And we sat for a while watching one of the riggers, and we're just like watching. And I have it's a weird part that sometimes shows up when I least expect it. That's a lot shyer than I feel in real life or
Yep.
whatever. And I think you were feeling my hesitation about wanting it, but not being sure like how to like get in there. And so we watched him like wrap up his tie, and Bill's like, "Do you want me to go ask him if he'll tie
Yeah.
you?" So it was like he kind of walked beside me in this place where I wasn't quite steady on my feet yet.
I think that's a great example.
Mhm.
It's a
Yeah.
great
And
example.
I brokered that deal.
You
So
just
that's how I describe it. So that was really cool. And we've since made a connection with
Yeah.
this this person, and that you kind of see regularly now. And it's that, and I was like, wow, that was a great move
Yeah. So
on my part.
Yeah.
you got to wingman your own partner.
Yep.
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 I love that.
And that's one of those things that could look like enmeshment if it's part of this bigger pattern.
Yep.
But if you've already started to differentiate, then that's just an action. It's
Yeah, it's
not
kindness.
part of a
Felt
pattern. It's
like
kindness. Yeah.
a little bit of a stepping stone for me, right? Like if we were in that same situation today, it would look differently.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? That
Right.
was
Yeah.
that was a year ago.
Yeah.
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 That
And
was just like
so
friendship and support.
yeah. Yep.
That's what it sounds like.
Beautiful. Laura, how about you? What is new about you? What have you discovered in your own individuation journey through this?
Yeah. Well, I have, like I said, I've kind of found the places where I'm not going to do things just because like Bill wants to do them, right? Like I will stay home while he goes around the corner to the brewery, where before it would be like, come with me, like, and I would go. Like even the gym, like we had this moment, like we used to always go
Go
to the
together.
gym together, and like now it's like this, your timing doesn't work for my calendar. Like I've got these things, I am going to go separately. And so just like they're really like nuanced little like moments that are just constantly showing up where I feel like I am taking more into consideration than I ever have what I want versus what's best for the team kind of space.
Yeah. Laura, you also pointed to the fact that you have really taken on the inner counsel work. You've talked about this several times in
Yep.
our community meetings about how for you being able to describe your inner multiplicity, to be able to really relate to the parts of yourself, that is a beautiful piece of individuation. Because individuation, as we're bringing those unconscious beliefs and motivations, we bring them forward. A lot of them have a full-on voice, and they will take over and they will command a life. But it sounds like you said you're building on the legacy that your mother left you of being in a growth mindset. It sounds like you're working with your inner counsel to actively not just be in a growth mindset, but to be in growth action, like to really be living it. Because sometimes we keep all of this, but it's all in our head. It's all like I'm gonna stay young, but it's inside. And it sounds like you're really allowing yourself to live into new experiences. And that strikes me as something that is really unusual as someone who could, like you could be demure. You could, hide in your couplehood. So I just want to like congratulate you on taking that step and like continually working that material, because we talked early on about you have some parts that are shy, some parts that are not sex positive, some parts that have big feelings of guilt. Do
Yeah.
any of those voices, are you still interacting with those parts of you on a regular basis?
Yeah.
They didn't just
100%.
magically go away?
They did not just magically go away. No.
I think that it's wonderful for me to hear, because in my work in groups and in private work, often people will hope there'll be a moment where like it just goes away. But you remind me that no, we get better at working with them. We learn to be with those parts, and we don't let them run our whole world,
Yeah.
which is beautiful.
Just the thought of sitting and being really curious about what that part is afraid of, what that part feels like is not being heard. Like, because I spent a lot of years um shushing a lot of
Yeah.
my parts
Yep.
and being like, oh yeah, you don't match the wanted identity, my wanted identity, and because you don't match this vision that I have of myself, we're gonna just put you behind this closed door kind of, and you're going to be quiet.
Yeah.
And it's really been liberating to approach it with curiosity and just not no longer exiling the parts and letting them have a place and to be really heard. I do a lot of journaling. I'll sometimes journal in different colored
Yep.
colored pencils for the different voices. We do a lot of work because, right, we learned it together where we'll dedicate somebody to be the, like, kind of the reflector, and that person
Yeah.
will engage and with, compassionate dialogue with whatever parts
Yeah.
present at the moment.
This is the work of becoming each other's individuation partner.
Yeah.
Which doesn't that doesn't necessarily have to be your marriage partner, your spouse, it doesn't even have to be a long-term partner. It's someone who's willing to walk this part of life with you in deep curiosity. And it's not for the faint of heart. It is not.
Yeah, it's not. And I've also, we've been able to express to each other when we're showing emotion, like which part this emotion's coming from, and then so we then get a better understanding of each other, because we know we've talked about our parts, and so when this part is coming up, we can say, oh, okay, that I have a better understanding of what's going on with you, because this part is talking.
Yeah.
And
You have a
so
more psychologically nuanced relationship with each
Yeah.
other.
Yep.
yes.
I
Wow,
love that for
that
you.
is great. Yep. It is fantastic. With
So,
all this
yeah, go ahead.
learning, all this growing, have you felt any of your like your internal belief systems, have any of those changed? Have you felt them growing and altering, or are they being just validated and cleared out? How has that gone for you?
Yeah, that's been I've had to undo a lot of old patterned internal belief systems, and so there's been some guilt that's been there, uh, and so I'm looking at that and working through those old patterns, and that's just leaning into the growth mindset of it all, and we can put those old patterns down, and so and lean into expansiveness. So it's you know been challenging at times, but it is, in the end, it has been helpful to recognize these old patterns that are no longer serving me,
Mm.
and then being able to put them down, even when they're uncomfortable, and feeling that's wrong, and all the things. But yeah, so that's been
Sounds like an ongoing
yeah,
process.
Yeah.
yes, there's
Laura,
always
how about
something new
you?
that pops up. Yeah.
Yeah. There's two things that are coming to mind for me. First, I want to just, I feel like the process started. One of the things we've done really well, as we have two girls, they're grown, and our oldest is queer. And as she she's 30. And so as she's understanding herself more, because we've kept a really open form of communication with our children where they feel comfortable talking to us. She has been a really good teacher in showing us that, like, because, right, we were born in the late 60s. And so this idea of just gender fluidity and sexuality, right? Like, again, it was kind of like the relationship escalator. I just bought into what the beliefs were in the late 60s and never questioned them, right? Because they came in at such an early age. They were just true to
Yeah.
me. And then
Yeah.
watching our daughter navigate this space and be so open with us about what she was going through, I think was helpful. So that then, like, I just said to her the other day, like, I feel like part of the reason I could get on this path was watching her live her life from a more authentic
Mhm.
place, and this place of really getting curious about my inner prude and where that came from, and deconstructing that and what's really mine versus what was, it was all given to me, right? I
Yeah.
can trace it generationally back as far as my memory. We were talking about that the other night. Like, I had no model of anything other than really a repressed, prudish woman. And so I just thought that's what it was
That's
supposed to be.
equivalent to woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes
Yeah.
just like this is what woman is
Yeah.
versus like, oh, what if she's luscious and sexual and
Yeah.
embodied? What if? What
What
if?
if?
So,
Oh,
so you've had, so you have your daughter as a role model and inspiration for this kind of growth and
Yeah.
the reaching for authenticity. Was there anybody else, obviously without naming names, in your lives that um, that provided that kind of inspiration for you, or was it all just from the inside out?
Was there
Uh,
anyone for you?
I would think the person you tie with.
Yeah.
He's been a big
oh,
inspiration. Just seeing the dynamic and how he works, and like you know his care for you, his allowing for me to be in the space, the uh it's just we're witnessing something we had no idea existed, and just saying, wow, how amazing is that this what he's doing, and then learning from that,
Mm.
and
yeah.
then growing from there.
I
So
feel a
helpful
little
to have
bit
a
like
model.
Alice in Wonderland,
Yeah.
right? Like that. I'm like, wow, there's this whole colorful world that I
Yeah.
didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
So I don't know that there was a specific person, but because we were really intentional about um, being curious about the things that we didn't know about,
Mm.
and like repeatedly kept putting ourselves in situations that were going to possibly blow our minds around some things. um so there were a lot of people, but not
Yeah.
necessarily a specific person.
Mhm.
I love that. So I'm hearing right at the core you put yourself in connection and community with people who were also doing things outside of your current paradigm,
Yep.
outside of your expectations, and without adding a lot of expectation to it, and just being open to like we don't know,
Yeah.
being in that liminal space of, well, we're going to step outside of our old expectations, but we're not yet ready to assume a new box. We're not going to go climb into a new box. We're just going to be in the in between. So helpful to be
Yeah.
Yeah.
surrounded by new voices, new people doing things new ways. So, as we wrap up, I want to ask you what advice each of you would give to yourself if you go back, say, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, when you're starting to question, what would you tell past Laura and past Bill?
Yeah. So first of all, I would tell, like, standing here today, I have no regrets. I think this slow path was perfect for me, for my nervous system, for where I was. There was so much new stuff coming in. I think it's like the fire hose, right? Like, had we opened the full, it would have been too much. And I think I might have like retreated or clammed up. So I would tell that part, 2 years ago, Laura, that it's okay to go slow. It's
Yeah.
okay to to stay out of pace in comparison with whatever like is going on around you. That it's even that's an individuation component for me
Yeah.
about like not trying to keep up or get ahead of somebody or beat myself up because I feel like I'm behind, right? Just allow the process to be the process and the pace that it's going to be for me. I would also tell her that she's not going to, like, there's no way I can even tell her what 2 years from now is going to be like, because if I tried to tell her, she wouldn't believe me.
Right.
Um, so to just be open to all the surprises and magic and pleasure that's going to come. And yeah, just wait and see. The best is yet to come.
That's yummy. And I bet that's a good message from 2 years from now, Laura, too.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bill,
And
how about you?
yeah, for me, I would just say, yeah, it's going to be challenging. It's going to be difficult, but you're going to be okay. You've had the skills, you've learned the things that can help you process the feelings you're getting, and it's not an antidote for the feelings, because man, I have felt some really hard feelings, and Laura let me feel them. She didn't come to
Yes.
rescue me, and I made it through, and I've learned in that process. So you're going to be okay, is what I would
Oh,
tell my self from 2 years ago.
Who
Bill,
doesn't
that
want to
is
hear that?
right. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
reminding me of that community meeting. So we, after the year of opening, we don't disappear. We're still your community. And so you've been great. You have shown up to community meetings on pretty much at least monthly, and you've been there. And I remember the meeting where you showed up and you were like, well, it's here. The jealousy and envy have
Yes.
arrived. It is present. And I remember like the look on your face. You were in it, but you weren't asking to be rescued. You had
Yep.
seemingly accepted that this was part of the ride. You didn't like it. You got yourself, though. You entered back into community rather than saying this isn't for me, or deciding that just because it wasn't working in a way that felt joyful and pleasurable didn't mean it wasn't ever going to work. And I remember just it was the next meeting we saw you at, all of a sudden the tide had turned, and
Yes.
and new stuff had opened up. And I remember seeing like you were glowing from the inside out. And it's the patience to be in that has really, it's lit me up to watch the two of you stay with the waves of, yeah, you're no longer in this lockstep mediocrity, but instead you're in waves of joy and big feelings, but you're holding steady next to each other while you have these very individual journeys. And it's been absolutely beautiful to watch. I'm grateful that I get to be part of your journey in an ongoing way, because yeah, a year, people ask, why is it a year? I'm like, well, first off, it's going to take time. There's a lot to unlearn and a lot to learn.
Because
And
it's a
then
little
there's,
rough to commit to 2 years. That's why
yeah,
it's a year.
that's it. That's it. And then, but then we're in each other's sphere. We're here. And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that you've come out enough in your life that you felt confident and ready to show up here with us in this conversation. And it just lights me up. I'm so excited for you and for our larger community, and
Mhm.
beyond the year of opening community, for the community at large to see that this is one of the pathways.
Yeah.
It's not flashy. It's not the one you see splashed across people's Instagram stories, because it's kind of this boring, pleasurable, wild, but also manageable
Mhm.
ride.
Mhm.
I really appreciate you modeling this
Oh,
for
yeah,
everybody. I
'cause-
wish I had your modeling
Now
16 years
you
ago.
are the inspirational people in the community.
Oh,
for
Oh,
people to lean off of and to grow off of. It's
Yeah.
so I want to make sure you understand that now you are the people that you would have liked to have had around you a
yeah.
couple
mhm.
years ago.
And
Yeah.
thank you. And that feels really good. And there's like a, wow, we're here. We've done all the things, and yeah, that feels good.
Yeah,
Thanks, Kim.
Bill, I remember you described yourself and Laura as a power couple, strong
Hmm.
communicators, great communicators, power couple. We've done it all. And then I watched as you unpacked and unlearned so much of what you had
Yeah.
previously stood on to be where
Yep.
you are now,
Yeah.
which is, I would say, an empowered set of individuals.
Mhm.
It's
Yes.
really lovely to
Mhm.
see. It really
Yep.
is. Thank you both so much for
Thank you
this
so much.
delicious conversation. It has been a total pleasure.
Thank you.
Pleasure's
Yeah.
ours. Thank you as well.
There's no one right way to design your relationship. And lots of people, actually about 25%, according to a recent national survey, are interested in some type of open relationship. But how do you know if you are ready to open up happily? Not everyone is, and that's no problem. I've got a 60-second quiz that will give you the answer. And even better, you'll walk away with your next step, whether you're good to go or not so much when it comes to opening up. And this is no BuzzFeed nonsense. I personally designed this quiz from my years of academic research. Go to joliequiz.com. That's JOLIQUIZ.com and find out if you're ready to open up happily and what to do if you are or if you're not.